What's up, YouTube? About to start recording the Ask Stevie show. All right. Got some resources I want to mention this episode, so make sure I have that information. All right. Recording underway. Pull the info up. Okay. Some deep breaths here. Hi there. Welcome back to the Ask Stevie show. It's so nice that you're here. I'm happy about it. I like today's question. It's worded interestingly. If you hear the birds in the background, I hope that you enjoy them. I have the windows wide open for this episode. The question is, what kind of return on my time investment can I expect out of a podcast? What kind of return on my time investment can I expect out of a podcast? Let's start with the time investment piece. You could spend as much or as little time on a podcast as you wanted to. The bare minimum would be launching it. And if you're going to pay other people to do all the launch pieces, you just have to greenlight stuff. And then once it's launched, it's only a matter of recording it each week. And I'll say, if you launch it yourself, which I did for this one, it could take you, let's say 12 hours to 18 hours. And that's from not having a full conception through the brand exploration, through all the podcast assets and so forth. So say 12 to 18 hours minimum, if you're doing it yourself, all the way up to like 30, 40 hours, depending on how long the podcast episodes are, how many episodes you're launching with, how much marketing you're doing with your launch, and so on. But you can, of course, chunk that piece down substantially by just, paying a music person, paying an art person, paying a audio and engineer, or even paying an all-in-one agency. But then once it's launched, as I said, you're really only spending the amount of time it takes to record. So if you have a weekly hour-long show, that would be an hour a week of recording. And like I said, someone else can post it for you. So that's the minimum. If you're doing it yourself, like I am for this one, it takes me the time it takes to record the episode plus another 20 to 25 minutes to make the artwork and then compile the post and then post it to my podcast platform. And I also have a YouTube playlist version of the podcast. So you can get the Ask Stevie show on YouTube. So I post it there too. And it takes 20 to 25 minutes after the recording. Excuse me. So that being said, let's talk about the return. There's two major types of return. There's the attention return, aka impact, aka influence. And then there's, of course, the monetary return. I'll say I have a keynote speech at the Independent Podcast Conference, sponsored by Blueberry, actually, one of the top podcast hosts, titled How to Make Money Podcasting. So if you're concerned about the money return, you probably want to go down in the show notes and click that link. It's a free YouTube video. I'm not selling anything off the back end of it. I made it years ago, and it's just extremely valuable. And I want to, this is a really good time for me to give this resource out. And I might as well also mention another keynote link, also on YouTube, also free, also not selling anything, which I'll include right below the How to Make Money Podcasting link in the show notes, which is podcast launch secrets, get more listeners and make more money for established brands and businesses. And that's more about conceptualizing it, planning it, getting all the key pieces into place that you need to have a successful launch. So, and that if you're a hobbyist, if you're just curious, there's nuggets and gems in both of those presentations for everyone. So anyway, assuming you've got an offer dialed in, you're selling it to some ideal client, ideal prospect avatar and making money, then you can make as much money as you want podcasting. It's one of the best advertising channels that exists. It can be formatted for local brick and mortar. It can be formatted for online B2B. It could be formatted for international products and services, personal brands, business brands. You can get as viral with it as you want. There are so many ways to leverage it. And the average podcast listener, number one, comes from a household that's making 75, 80,000 US dollars a year. Number two, they pay attention to 75 to 80% of every episode. They listen through every single podcast episode, excuse me, that much. At least, typically your average is 75 to 85% of each episode. There's no other form of advertising that can compete with that. Show me a 30-minute commercial that people are watching 75% of. It doesn't exist. It's incredible. That's why it's still, we were saying podcasting was in its infant stage for like 2009. And then we said it in 2016. It's still growing exponentially. It's insane. So it's going to settle into the same niche that radio had more and more, as it already has. Anyway, that's the money return. Obviously, you can line up your ideal podcast guest with some high ticket items. Once you've spent an hour shining a spotlight on their story, you've built a tremendous amount of know, like, and trust. You can then essentially pitch your services off air after the interview. You can line up your ideal listener avatar. Bless me. Man, that's the benefit of leaving the window open. There's allergies. Anyway. And so it's a very scalable asset for any established business as far as paid and unpaid advertising. Now, as far as attention, impact, influence return that you can expect, from an organic perspective, it really depends how well you line up the brand, the messaging, how well you disrupt the patterns on iTunes. But you could be potentially, it's not uncommon. I would say my client average back when I had an agency for this was 30 to 50,000 unique downloads within 3 to 6 months. Most people were hitting that. Some were skyrocketing past it, and some were hitting 5, 10, 15, but not quite there, which is still tremendous. Tremendous for something that anyone can do for free if they have a smartphone, assuming you do it right, correctly. And again, those two free resources in the links will help you. Also, if you go to askstevie.show and you submit a question, you'll get the perfect podcast planner and action guide, which is like the logical sequencing steps. So whatever your brand is, whatever your content ideas are, that's how it gives you the tasks, the steps, the pieces, the action items. So that can help anybody launch a successful podcast as well. There's a lot of little details. I can't cover all of them in one episode because it's so many little tiny things like the artwork, the title, the description, the call to action, the music, the voiceover artist. There's a way to do all of it correctly to maximize, like I said, your return on attention. And it's about concept too. If there's a particular iTunes category that's oversaturated with something, you can disrupt that pattern and siphon a tremendous amount of essentially free traffic. So I hope this answers what kind of return on your time investment you can expect. 12 to 18 hours, all the way up to 30 to 40 hours for the launch. Anywhere between 10 minutes a week to 2 hours a week, depending on how long the episodes are and what your podcast hosting platform is, and if you want to make a YouTube channel also. And it's tremendous leverage on both the money side and the impact side. So there's no reason not to do it. Hope that helps. Much love. Take care. That was a really good one. Thanks for watching, YouTube, and hit a like if you appreciated this episode.